like to call this meeting to order. Please rise and do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, had an opportunity to look at the packet, I assume, so any discussion on the agenda? I'll make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question before that goes. For meeting schedules, I've seen in some past minutes, the calendar year, do we gotta have that done in January, or is that something different for you? Like February or March? Just in some of the minutes before, like, we make sure all the Mondays are gonna fall on, there's no holidays on the Mondays right now, and we make it for the schedule for the year. Is
That
gonna be
happens
approved?
in June when we adopt the budget.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I will make a motion that we accept the agenda as presented this evening. Report. Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, may I ask a question? Is it too late?
If you wish, go ahead.
On the bottom there were the December 8th minutes. It says no name given. Okay, I'm sorry. Gotcha. We're good. Yes.
Courtney.
Yes.
Maureen.
Yes.
Dick.
Yeah.
Baldwin.
Yes.
I hit a bad hair day.
All right, now let's move on to the next one with the approval of the minutes. If there's
We're
any,
gonna do the-
That's after the minutes.
that's after the minutes is how it's drawn.
Oh, never mind, never mind. Right.
I'm not going this football game again. All right, here we go. The next thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. I'm looking for a motion, please.
I think it's for Mr. Brandon's question, is that?
To discuss something? Let's do that.
On the public comment, the bottom paragraph there, no name given. That was myself that asked that question, and said no name given. And there was a gentleman that had a question that wasn't on here, and they were
Somebody doesn't give their name, they don't get recorded.
That's council.
that was myself.
Under public comment,
Yes. No name given, question of illegality.
he wouldn't have spoken in public comment. At the end, you might have said something.
Okay.
And I'm not so sure that that was Mr. Bertone.
Yeah, that was you, wasn't it?
I asked a question,
Well, I'm gonna allow this, okay? And you were the one that asked that question.
No, not that
not
question.
that question. I asked several other questions.
Videos on YouTube to watch too.
Well, I'm gonna touch on that this evening anyway.
So it doesn't matter, we're in the minutes.
And you can have the opportunity to speak on it too, but I am going to get talking about that.
One more correction. Under new business resolution 2014-20 ex officio appointment to ZBA, said moved by Horton, I believe he was absent. I believe I'm the one that made that motion. Reflect that as a correction. You didn't show up, did you? I'm forgetting about it. business resolutions number 2,
Oh,
2014. Yeah, I believe it myself that made that motion.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe you could have phoned a friend and gotten Mr. Work on phone, but you could have.
He'd have hung up on him.
Therefore, I'd make a motion to approve the minutes.
Support. Roll call, please.
I did.
Make it easy.
Brandon, Horton,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Rodney.
Okay, we've stumbled through that pretty good. Now, if we can, our audit presentation from Lewis and Knopf. This is Stephanie.
Yes.
Help me out
Stephanie.
for Mike, please.
I'm filling in for Kim tonight. I'm Stephanie. I'm one of the managers at Loosen Off, and I've worked in schools for quite a while. I haven't had a chance to work with Jackie yet, or on your village, but I have worked at other villages that we do have. The village received a clean, unmodified opinion this year, which is the highest level of assurance that you can receive from an auditor. It also confirms that the statements prepared by the village fairly represent the results for the year. On page 3 of your handout, just kind of lists out different adjustments we have going from your fund level statements to your government-wide financial statements. On the first page is your capital assets, so it just goes into detail the different categories such as land, building improvements, furniture, and equipment. You can see you'll go a net fixed asset amount of $1.4 million. And then your business type activity, which is your sewer fund, with a net accumulated depreciation of $923,000. For your long-term debt, your bonds payable of $1.1 million, which makes up your 2003 and your 2013 capital improvement bonds, for a total of the 1.186. On page 5, it kind of just goes into different changes in fund balance between your different funds. The general fund you can see across the board kind of in all your funds that kind of had broke even. The general fund, you had a net change of about $7,900, leaving you a positive fund balance of $310, which equates to about 6 months of operations. Your major street funds had a net change of $6,400. Local street was about $8,600. Capital projects, which is just money you're spending down for fixed assets, mostly your 2013 Dutch Road Bridge and the Erie Street, leaving you $148,000 left in that project. Your debt funds are being paid down, so you're left with a fund balance of $100. And the sewer fund, about $71,000 change, with most of its depreciation expense, which was about $55,000 this year. The next page kind of just shows you in a graph how your general fund revenue is split out, which is $605,000. You see most of it's in property tax, which is 44%. Next comes in is your state sources at 23%, followed by equipment rental, garbage, and other, which makes up the other remaining balances. And then for your general fund expenditures, you can see about $31,000 is your general government, $19,000 is the village property, 9% is highways and streets, with garbage at 16%, and others and transfers making up 25% of the expenditures. When we looked at the final budget compared to what the actual results were, they were very good. The revenues were budgeted at $601,000. They came in at $605,000. Expenditures were budgeted at $625,000 and came in at $613,000. So we budgeted $24,000 change in net assets when we came in at $8,000. So it's very, very good. And the next page just looks at your sewer fund revenue. You can see 95% of your sewer fund revenue comes from charges for services, with about 5% coming from the tap-in fees. As far as your sewer fund expenditures, 51% comes from usage fees, which is to generate money, 13% salary and benefits, another 13% equipment maintenance, and then depreciation is 12%, with other being 11%. I'd just like to thank Jackie and the team for having everything ready for us and working with our team this year to get the audit done on time and have no issues, so. Are there any questions for me?
I have one.
Sure.
Page 7, general government, 31%. Now, does that encompass wages and what have you?
For the general, yeah, that would include, so everything that would run in your general government operations.
Okay.
Thank you. Actually, on the agenda would be the treasurer's report, the purple sheet. Do you have any comments or any discussion? Comments? Looking for a motion to approve.
Support.
Please support it. Roll call, please.
Brandon.
Yeah.
Horton.
Yes.
Maureen.
Yes.
Dick. Baldwin.
Yes. The bills and transfers, not green sheets this evening. Budget amendment. Discussion, gentlemen, bills and transfers. No discussion, I'm looking once again for a motion to accept.
Mark, the only question that I would have, we're seeing these names on here, I mean, I know they're on the committees and stuff like that. I'm seeing $20 here, $60 there going up for them, I'm just kind of wondering what services that they provide.
Which ones in particular?
Planning commission, so we're with it. Depending on how many meetings we have, it's $20.
Have they had any meetings this month?
It's a
Or-
year.
or, I'm sorry.
They're paid on a quarterly basis.
Gotcha. Discussion here on that, I'm with you.
Anything else, gentlemen? Motion to accept?
Or,
Roll call, please.
Brennan. Horton.
Yes.
Maureen.
Yes.
Dick.
Yes.
Baldwin.
Yes. All set? Let's move on to public comment, please.
Yes, my name is Henry Wartella. In the minutes, I believe my information wasn't in the minutes for the last month when I got up here. But I posed a question to you, Mr. President. Can you answer that one?
I will.
Okay.
At the end.
At the end? Okay. I hope you have a good enough answer for me, otherwise I'll be up here next month.
You're right.
Okay, thank you.
Patricia Wartella, 8010 Schuman Drive. And my question, I have a couple of questions for you, Mr. President. Have you scheduled the meeting to have the Genesee County Drain Commission officials to attend and the state officials to come in and, to attend that meeting that was voted on in June. Has that meeting been scheduled? That was voted on in June, passed by a 4-to-1 vote by the council to bring in these officials to attend the question and answer regarding the mill pond and the dam. And the residents are needing questions answered. They need these officials here. We have every right to have that as far as, you know, this entire community is going to have questions answered. With that being said, where does the city of Flint stand on the issue on the dam? Regarding the deed and the wording of the deed of the mill pond? Would the city of Flint be responsible for the cost of the replacement or the removal of this dam? Those questions need to be answered. And I'm asking as a resident, I'm asking, and I'm sure everybody else should be questioning it, if this is in the deed, in fact, if in fact the dam needs to be replaced or be removed, and the village can't afford it, and it's in the deed to go back to the city of Flint, and it has been repeated at this council regarding the deed and the restrictions on it, don't you believe that it would be important to schedule a meeting with the city of Flint officials to get these questions answered, to see if they would relinquish their rights regarding this dam? And if that's the case, then if that could happen, then we could move forward. This village could move forward. Because this is an ultimate, this is a huge cost to this community, and it shouldn't be up to the entire community. The dam, the mill pond offers water frontage to certain individuals on that water. That water is water frontage to certain individuals that live there. And I believe that every resident in this village should have a right, and they should have a vote, whether or not they want to pay for something that pertains to certain individuals or certain landowners. And I do believe that. So I'm asking you as the president to pursue this on behalf of the village, because there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not afraid to hear answers. Nobody here should be afraid to hear answers and to get them answered by the officials that deal with this. And that's what I'm asking for. And I think you can agree with this. You were on the council before the November election. There was a vote to bring in these officials to answer questions. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I speak on that, please?
No, not today. The unfinished business, Genesee County Sheriff's Department report, please.
Mr. President, how can we tell where these have taken road? I wasn't seeing where the addresses were.
No, they typically don't do that. This is about as.
They put in 800 black, 8,000 black, something like that.
Close to it. Like it was a busy holiday season, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anything else? Street Administrator, 911 Waterways, Parks and Rec, please.
There's not a whole bunch going on, other than trying to keep the streets clean. Waiting on a part for the snow blower already, but should be in tomorrow or the next day. They fill the shaft, and as soon as we get the part, we'll get it put back together. It's I guess it's typical in snow, in a 5-foot snow blower on sidewalks, but we're going to, try to rectify that. Other than that, they've been out there, moving the snow and putting down salt the best that they can and keep them open as best as they can. I think they did a pretty good job. I've been out on days when it's been pretty bad. Ours were a lot better than most. It's cold and I can't wait to see the first dandelion.
Nothing to report on 9/11 and water and waste. Parks and Recs, I was hoping that the newspapers would jump in and do a little bit more with Parks and Recs and trying to get people to make an application. Right now I have 3 people, not including the council people, so I'm going to put an ad in the paper or a story at least that would encourage people to become members of the Parks and Recs. There's no sense having a meeting with 3 people.
Code enforcement, I see Dave isn't here. Assuming there's nothing to report there. Administrative?
The sledding hill was opened over the weekend and reports say that people were down there using it. It's not the steepest hill, but it's made for 2 to 4 to 5-year-old kids. And then the state just announced that the village will receive over $10,000 from the general fund. We're not the only municipality, every municipality is getting money that we can use for our roads. So that money will be deposited into my roads. It'll come in quarterly increments.
That's great.
Yeah,
Dan?
it's working.
So we're gonna be pursuing any other outside companies for, I believe in my last meeting stated previous council. They're estimated to be 10 for general repairs. And for the dam, bringing up the outside company to come in and do a research on it for the pros and cons of having the dam, where we can get money from if we had to remove it, what the cons would be for the real estate properties and whatnot.
What did they say?
We're okay to continue talking on this. I mean, that's okay, right?
Well, we're in litigation and the village's management of the dam is an issue, so I'm recommending you avoid all discussions in that regard. There's no point in discussing it here. It's in litigation of the depositions and testimony, not a time to talk about it in that context, not here.
It's the same.
If they're still on the
Meeting that the state officials would know about.
Oh, you know, we leave the state officials, none.
So then that mixes the idea of
Yeah,
bringing up the other people.
recommend you not meet the state officials.
I would
What
like
do
to
they
touch on
bring
one
up
other thing I
in
mentioned,
deposition?
fact, about looking into the city of Flint. I know that you've done this in the past, about lowering the pond and the land resorting back to the city of Flint. You were gonna kind of look into that a little bit. Can you, or you don't want to do that now?
I called the city of Flint and spoke with their office, their council office, but that is as far as it went. We exchanged phone calls and put the agenda on our calendars, but we never followed it up, and there's a reverter in the deed. Those are not, the reverter clauses are not automatic under all circumstances. So that's another question I think should be left until the lawsuit's resolved. I certainly don't think the city of Flint's gonna substitute in for us, for the village, under any circumstance, for any liability, or control, or regulation.
Mr. Vick?
Well, the next question is gonna be for the drain, but I think it all kind of comes together, so I'm kind of waiting. But I mean, here's my thought out loud, is that we got roughly 3 years left, if I'm not mistaken, to come up to some sort of determination what we're gonna do with the dam, from what state officials told us. So if we don't do anything about it now, who knows how long this litigation is gonna be going through? I mean, we can't do that.
We had a period of time in order to due to work that we did on the dam. The dam is stabilized at this point, and now it's, I think we're on a definite deadline as to
Because I
what
thought
we have to do.
I thought we only did like a $30,000 temporary repair until we were gonna have a finalized plan on what we were gonna do.
And I believe that Mr. Trumbull, and I think I have an email at home, I believe that he was satisfied until 2017, and then at that point, he wanted something for a long-term objective from us. I
Actually,
believe, and I have that
Which
email.
would go for 4 years, like you're saying.
They figure we're good for 10 to 15 years on the dam right now, the way it stands with the repairs that we did. They were happy with what we did, they looked it over, and, it's not something we got to replace tomorrow, but I would say somewhere between 10 and 15 years from now, you're gonna be doing something to either replace that, or there is another company that comes in and will refurbish it, what they call a refurbish. Some of the prices they quoted are between $300,000 and $450,000, and they give it a 50-year life. So there's, personally on the dam, I'd like to get the drain part taken care of first, and then that's second. You don't want two eggs in your hand at the same time.
Well, and I don't wanna skip on the agenda here, but the drain is, or the dam is kind of part of the drain. I mean, we have options in the proposals from Jeff Wright. If we do something with the dam, it's gonna affect the amount of money that we're not gonna have to spend to get the drains on.
You'll end up spending more money getting rid of the dam in the pond than you will fixing the drain.
You don't know that for
We
sure.
really don't know that unless we have an official study done on it. I mean, let's be honest. I don't wanna sit here and speculate.
The
like
official
we've done
study
in the
on
past.
it, just to check it, sediment is 12 or 6 figures.
For the sediment,
Just checking it,
just checking the sediment.
just checking it.
Well, I believe Mr. Baldwin tried to go after a few folks, and we were priced around, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but about $3,000 to $5,000 to have
And
somebody to test the sediment.
I think maybe I should take and open that up, and I should take and talk to, I think it was Holland was the company that I talked to, the lab in Holland. They're the most affordable. Let me look into that, I'll get back to you next week.
Mr. Trumbull stated from the state and the boss of the dam that you don't wanna touch the sediment, because you're opening up can of worms. Where the water where it is what he said.
And I don't wanna drag this around longer, but it wasn't the state that came in that did the inspection on the dam itself, and the one that gave us the timeline for the repairs. So regardless of what repairs that were done on it, whether it was the $23,000 or $30,000 we put on there, is it the state that came back and asked us, or said that, okay, we're good for another 10 to 15 years, or is that just what the contractors did?
Until 17. It was 2017, then at that point, we have to have somewhat of a plan on what we're doing.
You know, he said at that point, we have to,
Okay, that was kind of our grace period. And that doesn't mean that it can't change. And I will look for those emails that I have, and show you those. Okay, are we, any more discussion? Yes, there really isn't. Sidewalks, please.
All I can say is you gotta watch them, because the places are racing with this cold weather, that come up 2 or 3 inches from the frost, and, that's what got the snow blower. Did it one day, the next day it came over about 4 inches, and it didn't jump over it. The shoes didn't pick it up. And that's down by the or where the grocery store used to be on the east side of the road. It just raised there overnight for whatever reason, but it didn't see it with the snow on it.
Mr. Chairman, is that where the sidewalks up here when finished being cleared, or is that residents'
Right,
responsibility?
it broke down Thursday, parts were ordered, no, broke down Wednesday, parts were ordered Wednesday, and they're supposed to be in hopefully tomorrow. It took the shaft and the drive part right out of it when it hit it. The shoes are supposed to take it over it, but we're going to try to revamp that and put shoes on it the size that we have on our snowplows. These other ones are little, these other ones are bigger, and they got more of a catch to it. Hopefully, we checked with Davidson, they've had the same problem down there with theirs.
Just larger skids, that's what you want to put on.
Yep, larger skids.
What's the price on that new shaft?
And the shaft and the housing is almost $400. And when it hit, it was that, shut it off immediately. You got 4,000, 3,000 RPMs, it's just boom.
Maybe he needs to slow down a
It
little.
wasn't going very fast. You couldn't see it, it was in the snow.
Those things don't have a shear pin in them or anything like that for safety?
Yep, but it didn't shear it sheared the pin too, but it actually bent the shaft. When it hit, because it caught the sidewalk that it came off.
We like Watkins Drain.
Yep.
Are we gonna continue with Organa?
Well, it's all in the hands of the drain commissioner. All we were trying to do is come up with different approaches. And they've got to come up with a different game plan, that's for sure. The price was, it's just not possible.
Well, far back.
A little bit. And I know that Rich called me and he had been talking to Susan Kubik, but because of the holidays, I don't think it went very far, so.
Concerning the proposal that Jeff Wright gave us, some point in time, we actually gotta look at these kind of serious. I think when we heard any talks of these proposals, anywhere from $721,000 to about $500,000. And again, in those proposals, it talks about taking the mill pond down to a certain level, so no water's going off the golf course, or if we can just eliminate the golf course culvert completely, that's gonna save us some money. So those are kind of my two scenarios at this point that I see doing anything, and I don't really know if this is tied up in litigation, because again, this is our drains that we gotta repair.
I can't comment.
I don't think we should be talking about it.
So we're,
I don't think we should be talking about it.
Oh,
If you got a right to talk about it, but I don't think we should be talking about it.
oh,
If it was individuals who sued the village, if I go over and talk to them, their attorneys will tell them not to talk to me and not to talk to you.
Okay.
We follow that same rule.
let me ask you this question, if I may. We go and have a board of determinations determine that we have a drain issue. Jeff Wright gets involved, sends us some proposal saying, I'm coming into your town and I'm going to fix your drains. We have the ability to cut those costs. At what point in time does this council take a stand and make decisions that are gonna be most cost effective to its residents? That is not gonna matter to this litigation,
Not tonight.
because Jeff Wright's still coming in. So,
There's a proposal, there's talk, but there's nothing to discuss tonight in that regard.
so this litigation could take on, and I'm not gonna speculate, a few years, and I know you can't really say on it, but we have about a year until they're gonna come in and do any kind of digging on here.
I hadn't heard that, I don't know that.
it was
But
at
in
the
the
That was
meeting in
at last
December.
meeting about 2000, I'll talk, please. That was that last meeting we had, and come around 2016 is when he's planning on breaking ground. So we have less than a year's time to figure out what's best for our residents.
They're in the litigation too. And I'd be surprised if they move forward with that while the litigation is pending. It may not be. But if you go talk to Jeff Wright, he's not gonna answer your questions. He's not gonna talk about
I
it.
guess he has.
No, he's not about the litigation. He won't. His lawyer will tell him, well, maybe he will, but his lawyer will tell him not
He
to.
didn't sidestep the question.
Well, you don't have to take the advice.
No, I'm listening to what you're saying, I'm not trying to argue with anything that you're saying, but at some point in time, this council's gonna have to come to a decision on what's best for its
I don't
residents.
disagree with that, but it's not tonight.
I wasn't asking for tonight, I was just bringing it up for discussion, so we can start thinking about the possibility of.
You're not wrong. There may be a decision to make sometime, but it's not tonight.
Okay. I think this is time that we're going to kind of close this session and go into our closed session. We need a motion to do that. I will make a motion that we close this and go to our closed session.
It should be discussed in front of us.
Roll call.
Brandon,
Yes.
Horton,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Vic, Baldwin.
Yes.
Don't have that. That's illegal.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a little lower.
Motion to open up the regular meeting again, please.
Or,
Brandon?
Yes.
Horton?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yeah.
Dick? Baldwin?
New business, the 2014 audit.
Need a, hopefully a motion to accept the audit.
Discussion, gentlemen?
The motion is so made.
Any discussion first? We're all set with it?
I make a motion to accept the audit as presented.
I'll support that.
Brandon?
Yes.
Horton?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Baldwin?
Next, the audit proposal.
I make a motion to accept the audit proposal as presented.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Brandon?
Yes.
Horton?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Dick? Baldwin?
Yes. The next one is Resolution 2015-01, the appointment of the Planning Commission here. Keith Walder.
I have a couple questions on that tonight.
Please.
How many do we have on the planning commission now?
Can I explain this first?
Yes.
The planning commission and the zoning board of appeals, it's just like the council has to have somebody on the planning commission and the zoning board of appeals as an ex officio member. The zoning board of appeals has just somebody on planning commission, that's the same thing. The zoning board of appeals has 5 people plus an alternate, and the planning commission has 9.
So what does make him 10?
He's
No, that's the total number.
Okay, because I'm just looking at, maybe the website's wrong, but I'm counting 8 on there now, adding me, that's 9. We bring him on here, this would be 10.
We have to take people off of that. I didn't want to do that until we finalize what we're doing.
Who's off? Who's off?
So are we gonna decide who's on before we finalize this one?
No, the people are resigned.
Or they have resigned? Okay. Kind of, I'm a little confused. If some people have resigned, wouldn't we then post that for public notice on who would want to come and fill those positions before
Yeah.
we did this?
It's up to you guys if you want to do it that way. We've never done it that way. And for this particular one, somebody on the zoning board of appeals has to be on the planning commission. Or there's not an opening on the zoning board of appeals.
Okay, so, just want to make sure I get this right. I'm not trying to be that guy right now, but, so we put him on here. Are we gonna have a meeting to who we're gonna discuss, who's gonna get kicked off, or is that a phone
Linda
call?
May
that
has
they-
resigned. She's
Okay.
ill. She's on the planning commission.
So is Mr. Horton still the ex officio of the planning commissions, or is
No.
that my spot?
Like I said, I didn't
So Mr.
I
Horton
didn't
was
correct
just
it
a
until
member?
we finalized the plan.
Probably be the one,
What?
on the planning commission.
But you're not on anymore.
No,
We lost a meeting, we lost the position.
no.
I'll update it tomorrow.
That
I
was
wanted
only
to
in
finalize
years.
everything before I did.
Okay, so then we're, when this is said down, we're gonna be back down to 8 then.
Yes.
Any totals for it?
Thank you.
Didn't take long, good. Good. We're all set with that. Motion to accept? I'll make a motion.
Support.
So I think
Brandon?
Yes.
Horton?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Baldwin?
Yes. Now we have the truck tire bid. If you would, Jackie, please.
There are 2 bids before you, Church and Sons for the 06 truck, and then GCR is a bid for both trucks, the small dump truck and the pickup truck. It's hard to get tires on the small, find somebody that will do tires for the small dump truck. This is the only one that would give us a quote, and the recommendation is to just have GCR do the entire 10 tires that are needed, 4 for the pickup truck and 6 for the small truck. $26.82. Or if you want to split them out, you can split them out. The bill for, or the bid from Church and Sons is a little more than the bid for 4 tires on a pickup truck.
Now, Church and Sons, that's only for one truck, correct?
Correct.
Pick up, yeah.
They don't make the tires, or they don't have the tires for the bigger truck.
My concern with GCR, in all the years I've bought truck tires, the labor was included in the price of the tire. That seems like a really steep labor price.
A lot more bolts, take off, dual axle.
I'm aware of that.
Been there, done that, right?
Yeah. Well, we need the tires.
You know, you looked at them when a month or 2 ago, and they haven't got any better.
A motion to accept these ones.
Mid motion?
Yeah.
I support.
Brandon,
Yes.
Horton,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Baldwin.
Yes. Now the budget amendments. Jackie, hold this up, please.
There aren't really too many budget amendments. I just want to state that when we adopt a budget in June, that begins on July 1st, a budget is a working document. We find that we need things in one area and we don't need it in another area, or we have an emergency, or something comes up that will either give us revenue or take revenue away from a particular area. And the general fund, we increased the expected funds in zoning fees, enforcement fees, and then the money from the sale of the property finally was able to be deposited. So that increased the revenues from $597 to almost $620,000. The council wages, it just depends on how many meetings we have. We give a good estimate, but there were more meetings that people attended. Going on to page 2, there was nothing there that needed adjustment. If anybody has any questions, please pop in while we're on that.
When you get to page 5, I got a question.
I got a question on 2,
On what?
on page 2.
Okay.
Municipal comp clean. What might that be?
That's cleaning of the building.
Cleaning?
That's not a budget amendment.
2,000 a year?
Cleaning,
2,000 a year?
that's what's budgeted in general fund. Page 3. The planner, I doubled that amount because we want to have a training session for zoning board of appeals as well as planning commission, because we have so many new members, and then working on the Parks and Recs plan. Going down to election wages, this is what the township charges us to put on our election. So it increased from $800 to $1,452. Going on to page 4. Just adjusting property supplies, property engineering, that was mainly because the work that was done on the dam was done at the end of the year, and it's when the bills finally hit from Wade Trim. Property tree removal, we had quite a bit of tree removal that we had to do. We did get $500 from the insurance company to help with that. And equipment roads increased by $5,000 with the addition of the snow blower. page 5. Drains at large, this is the amount that the county bills us every time somebody makes a phone call for them to come out and do work on one of the drains. And then local drains went up $500. You had a question on page 5?
If I'm reading this right, it says original budget of 8,000, it says year-to-date 0, we're still at 8,000, but then we're asking for an additional another 26.
The bill's due in March. Again, this is when water and waste comes out to work on, we elect drain, the drain over in Goodrich Meadows, Fairview, we get charged for them to come out.
So we haven't paid anything yet on division 8,000.
No, it's one bill, and it comes out, and it's due in March.
Oh, I thought you were saying it's gonna be more than the 8,000, that's why you're.
It will be, it's 9126. Going on to park maintenance again with the trees and the damage that was done in the park from the storm. I increased the park maintenance and repair. The expenditures were less than the revenue, so there's a fund balance this year at this particular point, in addition to what the auditor said of 7176. Page 7.
I got a question on 6, Jackie. Transfer to minor roads. I see there's 41,175.
Yeah, that's, general fund subsidizes minor roads, because we don't get that much, we have 11 miles of minor roads, and this year we budgeted $39,000, and this is what we're hoping will take care of any additional expenses for that. That number could change depending on the winter.
Would that include patching and repairing minor roads?
Yes.
Wink, wink. Okay, thank
Page
you.
7, major road engineering, again, that was bridge inspections that were done last year, that caught up to us as far as bills in this year's budget. Page 8, the minor roads, increase the routine wages. Again, that pretty much is because of the storms that we've had so far. Usually, depending on the winter, again, the budget amount for winter wages usually is lower. Last year it was a lot higher, but if there's money left over in winter wages, we just transfer that to the routine wages for major and minor roads. Any questions on 8? 9, just recording interest on the public improvement fund. Number 10.
Mr. Shaken, or why don't we have any money in the public improvement funds?
I'm sorry?
Why don't we have any money in that fund?
We have $18,565 in a fund balance. That's what that is on the bottom of that.
How does money get in placed into that fund?
That's money that was left over from the bike path, for maintenance on the bike path, or what you guys wanted to do.
Thank you.
Public improvement, again, catching up. Some things that were anticipated that would be done in last year's budget ended up being done in this year's budget. Some of the finalization of the Dutch Road Bridge project, Erie Street construction, engineering didn't start until this fiscal year. Last year we put $8,000 in that. Dutch Road construction, a struggling bill. Erie Street construction, and Erie Street miscellaneous. So the Erie Street project is completed at this point, and it leaves a fund balance of $129,853 in there. The sewer fund, and the usage amount went up by $45,000 after the county put in their increase this year. Sewer taps I increased because we've already sold more than I had budgeted in the beginning. And then revenue from CDs took it from $377,900 to $431,200.
Question, Jackie, what are our sewer taps at this point? What should we charge you for a sewer tap?
It depends on where it is. If it's in a subdivision, and they put in all the piping, and they've already, the first 2 units are $2,000, and any additional unit is $1,000. So for instance, in Goodrich Meadows, any sewer taps that are sold are $1,000. If somebody taps into the existing line, like RJ, Swope and Jay's did, they're $2,000. They already met, it's $4,000 for the first 2, and then $2,000 for each additional. So, because he was on the original line that went in.
And we can change that, that fee at our discretion. We can up the fee if we so desire.
Yeah, we have to do another rate study though.
I'd be for that.
Pardon me?
I would be for that,
Needs to be done.
yes.
The assisted care and the memory care units that were sold went in last year's budget. And those were on, they needed 1 more at 4,000, and then the rest of them were 2,000 for all of them. And they have 20 unit bills. The sewer fund expenses, it's on page 11. When I was doing the budget, I don't know what I did, but just full credit for it. I think I put in what my wages were instead of the total amount of sewer wages, so that increased by $45,000 to 62. Office operations went up a little bit, accounting, distribution raised that a little bit, and insurance, the distribution. A certain percentage goes in general fund and sewer fund of a lot of the different categories in this area.
Back up one more time. Did I mishear you saying you might have put your wages instead of the sewer fund wages in here?
Yeah. Okay. I was getting ready for surgery, I wasn't thinking all that well. But the money's there and allocated.
No.
Just,
Make sure I heard you.
Put the wrong number in.
I just put the wrong number in, yeah. No,
That could be an open door.
sometimes so. I call it. Well, nothing in debt retirement and transfer. And that's it. No budget amendment. Anybody has any questions on anything specific, I'll be happy to answer them now, or if you want to learn more about the budget and budget amendments, please feel free to give me a call and we'll sit down and talk about it.
Just as long as that sewer wages drops.
Actually, it went up. So I'm looking for a motion to adopt the budget amendment.
Motion.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Brandon,
Yeah.
Horton,
Yes.
Marie,
Yes.
Dick,
Yeah.
Baldwin.
Yes. Number 6, the aquatic nuisance plant control, mill pond proposal.
The reason that this is on here, we're not sure what we're doing, but we've done it in the past, unless you want to schedule weeding. My recommendation is that we don't. The water level was down for a considerable length of time, and the last time we did that, we didn't have to do any weeding for 5 or 6 years. Those plants all died. But in order to be in the rotation, there's an annual permit fee of $400 that I recommend that we apply for that permit in case we want to do any weeding, or if you don't think you want to do any weeding, then I don't think that has anything to do with the lawsuit right now.
Questions, gentlemen?
It's up to you. You can make
I
the
have a
application.
question, Mr. President. For future bids on $5 equipment like tires, I'd like to see, oh, okay. I thought you meant all of the, sorry, my bad.
All right.
A brain fart.
See, it happens.
It's illegal.
All right, now the aquatic
That's a
nuisance
legal
plant
permit.
control incorporated proposal. Jackie is kind of suggesting, and I agree with her too, that we should probably keep the permit, and that way we can do what we want to. But if we fall behind on that, we're probably take several months to redo this permit application, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you get, everybody and their brother that needs a permit is putting them in now. You can do it later on, you know, when you make the decision, but
Keep the
they
permit
usually
going.
do the weeding, the first part of the summer, or latter part of spring, sometime middle of May to middle of June.
So the water as low as we had it most of the summer, the weed that grows should be pretty nil.
Yeah. When we had it lowered that one summer,
Yeah.
we didn't do any weeding for a long time, but
Save a lot of money not doing it.
it's up to you guys what you wanna do. We can fill out the application and send in the 400, or we can hold off and, I'm not bringing this to you for approval of the weed
No.
process, just the 400.
Well, I make a motion that we apply for that annual permit of $400, and that will alleviate the problem of wanting to do something later on in the year and you can't do it.
I think I have
Okay.
a question real quick for you. There's somebody, I don't know, this stuff is over $7,000 or so. Who pays that if we decide that we're gonna weed that? Does the village pay that, or does that get assessed on
Village
the?
general fund.
Okay, thank you.
Right now, there's $4,000 allocated in the general fund budget for that, for the workshop.
Usually one spraying gets done, we never, that 7,000 was like 2 spraying, so we never had to do 2.
Ready?
I'm set, everybody?
Brandon?
No.
Horton?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Dick?
No.
Baldwin?
Yes. Okay, here we are, get it, public comment.
Henry Vortella. And I know, Mr. President, you said you were gonna touch base on my question. Again, my question wasn't put in the minutes, so I'm gonna repeat my question, so it's in the minutes, and then you can answer it after. So the question was, in 2010, November 30th, there was a council meeting, and the majority of the council voted to terminate Mr. McKinney. Since then, Mr. McKinney's back, but I don't believe there was ever a vote by council to bring Mr. McKinney back. So that was the question, and I'd like to have that in the minutes. Thank you.
Patricia Wartella, and I heard Mr. President, discuss receiving funding for our roads, and I'd like specifically to be part of the minutes tonight that we desperately need Schuman Drive crack seal. It has only been done once, not 3 times, as it's been stated by Mr. Maury. Our home was the last home to be built on Schuman Drive. The reason it was paved was because of our home. I should know how many times it's been crack sealed, and I'm here to tell you that it is in desperate need to be crack sealed, or it's gonna have to be redone completely. That's how bad it is. Infrastructure's crumbling at our hands, so we need to address it. I'd like that to be part of the minutes, and until we get it done, I'll continue to revisit this. Thank you.
Katie Dick, 9341 Green Road. I'd like to address the issue that was brought up earlier about the dam and having some sort of proposal or a plan, a study done about whether or not to keep or remove the dam. I think it's negligent of this council to just pursue something completely one direction when I personally have contacted a lot of the state officials, a lot of the environmental agencies, and the general stance is to remove these dams that don't serve a purpose. I would really hate to see us turning our wheels one direction to find out at the end that they're going to fight against us if we pursue our dam, and that's what I'm hearing is the situation when it comes to these kinds of situations with the dams. And I'd like to make it clear that I'm not at all trying to suggest that we, get rid of the dam and take it out, but there is a huge, huge movement for restoring these creeks, and it's very, very negligent of us to not open our eyes to it. And if we had that kind of information, a study very well could tell us why we need it in our area. We need that kind of research because none of us in this room are qualified to make that call. And just deciding to pursue a $2 million dam is a really scary, scary thing without having the data to back us up. These kind of studies take 6 months or more. And we need to have a plan figured out well before our lawsuit is going to be over. So sitting on our hands on this dam issue is not gonna get us far. We really need the professionals to help us. And we need to be guided by them. We need to be guided by the state officials. We need to be guided by a non-biased study that will help us determine all the factors, weighing everything, weighing fire safety, and weighing that option, and weighing the home values. We need to know what we're looking at if we were to drain it, how we would handle that. We need to know who's gonna be liable for the insurance. We need to weigh how much we're spending in insurance. We need everything figured out. And I think it's very, very crucial that we don't sit down and spend longer. We need to start in the next couple of months deciding that. Thank you.
Anyone else?
If not, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Council here. I gotta answer their questions here. I'll go first, then you guys can, do whatever you can come back on me. Some of the questions from last month was, number one, the election. And the election, once again, the research that I have is that we followed our charter. And I can't find where we violated anything. And Tim, I'm hoping that when it's your turn, you can kind of speak on that a little bit with what you did at the MML meeting. The next thing is, as far as the attorney thing, and I went through all the archives on minutes. The minutes that, and what was said the next month, and what was accepted. And I have the November 30th, 2010, and I also have the other one that was done, that Doug and Phil Jackson, okay, hard to read his writing here, Mr. Jackson, that they requested the second meeting for. And I can find in here where you hired Mr. Belser, but I cannot find where there's anything in here that Mr. McKinney's position was terminated. I have another one that I found from June 30th, 2011, which, there's some other stuff here, but basically, this is Thursday, June 30th at the meeting. The meeting of council today's motion was made as follows. The motion to terminate the services of Jack Belser as the village attorney because of the high fees of $14,135 for services from December 6, 2010 through March 24, 2011. Mr. Tom McKinney and his representatives will provide service until a new attorney can be found, as no motion was ever made to terminate Mr. McKinney's services. This is effective immediately, moved by Maury, seconded by Horton. That's what I found.
I think Mr. McKinney, if I can speak.
I'm going to, real quickly, because I'm missing a kickoff.
Okay. I think he's fully aware that he was terminated. In fact, the petition that went around to extract Mrs. Wartella from the council stated that Mr. McKinney was terminated. And I think ethically he knows that.
And I'm going to cut you off right there, and maybe he was. I can't find anything that says. I have an email from him to where Mr. McKinney responded and stated that he can't find anything in his records that his position was terminated.
Where's Alan Robb
But
and Jack Belser?
you're out of order. I will
I'm
say
sure
that this
I
right
am.
here was at a meeting, and he was reinstated. I
There's
guess
a
you
lot
could
of
say.
things missed in the minutes.
Well, all I can tell you is what I found. This is
What did we
I found.
find tonight
This is what I
in the
have.
minutes?
Okay. And that's all I have. I think I've answered everybody's questions.
You did
Gentlemen,
answer.
Tim, you?
Yes, touching on the November election, Jake Thick and myself attended Michigan Municipal League class And I asked William Matheson, General Counsel for the MML, and I presented the situation to him in regards to the November election. And he took down all my information, took it back to his staff members that are versed in elections, and he says they have no idea. So he asked me, he just contacted me day before Christmas, he asked me how we handled it. So, as of now, they have no opinion one way or the other. So, that's where we stand. I will notify him about how it was handled, how General Counsel said it was acceptable, it was okay in our charter, correct? And so on and so forth. But I will get the answer, I will give it to everybody, so we can put this to bed. My other question, Mr. President, and concern, on high dollar equipment and parts like the tires, I see two estimates here. One is only, well, let's say, for lack of a better term, half estimate from Church and Sons. I would like to see a minimum of 3 estimates, and I would be more willing to help with that.
We couldn't find any other tire shop around there to give us a bid for the tires on that truck. Nobody would do it. They went to Davidson, they went 2 places in the Flint, they went to Ortonville. They said, we don't handle that tire and we're not gonna bid on it because we have to specially buy it.
Why don't they handle that tire?
You have to ask those people.
It's an E-rated tire. I got that same size on my truck.
I can't tell you, that's all, they tried 5 places and nobody gave them a bid. That was the only place they could find the tire that goes on a small dump yard truck. Do the plies in them, I don't know. Nobody would bid it. Churches won't even bid it, and they can, they can call and get tires anywhere, and they say, we don't handle them and we ain't touching them.
Unless it was more than 10 ply, but they only get larger than 10 ply when you're talking semi.
I don't know what ply it was,
But it is an E-rated tire. And also, I'd like to, we had discussed about sheets for what the DPW workers are doing.
Get work on that.
Okay.
We already have that.
they have them, they're turned in every week or every 2 weeks.
Payday.
Every payday, the sheets come in, they're upstairs.
Okay.
All the sheets of what each and every individual has done for the 2 weeks.
For 2
Gas,
weeks?
mileage, and everything, I think
We get
everything.
paid every 2 weeks. On a monthly basis, there's a vehicle report.
Well, I'm not talking just a vehicle.
Well, it's what they do to, where they spend their time, because they get paid out of major or minor road money,
Okay.
where they work on, and general fund.
Okay. Would I have access to that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
2 things. Did we ever get our water heater repaired?
Yes,
What was our total bill on that?
It's under 1,100.
it came under.
The second thing is, and maybe Mr. McKinney is gonna have to answer this, so we have his ears on, I do apologize. Concerning the May 12th meeting is when that motion was made, you had representative of the DEQ and the DNR, Jeff, and whatnot. What is the time frame that we can expect where we can set up a meeting with those people for the residents?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
There was a motion that was made back in May 12th to have representatives from the DEQ, the DNR, Jeff Wright, Tom Hazel, and any other interested parties. It was moved in second and then passed. And you made a comment beginning the meeting that we shouldn't have that meeting because of legality issues. So
Right.
I'm kinda asking you, what do you think would be a time frame to where we could have that meeting, so we can kinda move on with our normal business?
The end of litigation.
Jeff Wright might already be in town before that happens.
Then he'll precipitate a discussion about it before then, and he's a litigant too, and so there would have to be some acquiescence. But I can't speak for Mr. Wright. I'm just recommending that we not talk about those things until the litigation is put to rest.
But I don't, my concerns are, is I don't think the questions that are gonna be getting asked is really gonna be going down the road where I think your concerns are at. I think people wanna know, is it cost effective to have that water tested? What are the possibilities of the contaminants in there? The drainage issues, so to speak, does the mill pond take place in it? Something that Jeff Wright would be coming and talking to.
You may be right, we could explore the specific topics. We could explore the specific topics, but funny thing about conversations in public meetings and how they migrate from one topic to another, but we certainly could explore that, sure.
Well, I think the
We talked tonight about the mill pond, and there was no impact on litigation,
Yeah.
so clearly we could explore that.
And I think the form that I brought up, and I thought Mr. Baldwin kind of agreed with, was that we would, this was during the last meeting, you got me ahead nod, I heard a little grunt from him, so I'm assuming he agreed with me. That we would kind of get the questions mainly probably to you, you'd be the, what's what I'm looking for,
Facilitator.
thank you, for those questions and be able to ask those to those gentlemen, and then, we could have the discussion through that.
Yeah, that's a possibility, sure.
You're cheaper.
What am I gonna do?
You want to be the mediator?
Right there, you're the king of the
I will.
Let's schedule it.
right
It'd be cheaper for the community, and I mean, all we need is just somebody to control the meeting. Council would not be part of that. Council would just be, attending in the audience. Some prepared questions from the residents, and, with a little discretion on what is allowed.
We can explore that.
I come cheap.
We heard that.
Contact you.
So let's take a time next meeting, we can possibly try to set up a date when we can make it happen.
Let's put together some questions. Everybody wants to look at it.
Would that go in the paper for public notice, questions to be submitted for such meeting?
Are you looking at me?
I'm asking if we can do that.
Everybody's
Yes, we can.
Everybody's putting a finger.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
You said yes, you don't know to ask.
Well, you said,
No, yeah.
can you publish a notice? You can publish a notice.
Yeah.
To
And,
ask your question.
Just to submit the questions, and, I hate to say we're gonna filter them out, but I mean, if you think it's legal to where we can't ask them,
we can set up some parameters and
yeah.
just try and follow those.
Anybody else? Mr. Horton? Mr. Moore?
Not at this time,
Motion to adjourn?
Support.
7-0 Oregon.
Yay, Ducks.
You thought he wasn't listening?
Hey, we're not paying you to look up football,
7-0 Oregon.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
but I'll let it slide.
Yeah.
Seven nothing, Oregon.